Alrighty, so today wasn't really day one because last week we talked about what is church, but today we started to look at the research of the 10 surprises about unchurched people, their hearts and their minds, and so we have notes here from today. So I wanted to go over these notes for some of the people that might be tuning in during the middle of the week because they forgot what we talked about, or for somebody maybe who missed the service and they didn't know what we were talking about. So one of the first surprises is that we found out that unchurched people will prefer to go to church on Sunday morning if they're going to go to church. Sunday morning is the time for church, and so Sunday morning is the time that they would attend. This is followed distant second by Saturday night, and as I put a little note there, it's adults, single adults, or adults who work on Sunday. So close second would be Saturday night. So we said that we will have Sunday morning services and expand Sunday morning services until we can't expand Sunday morning anymore, and then the next step would be Saturday nights. So that was what we found out about that. It was surprise number 2 that brought the most conversation, and surprise number 2 was basically that there's just an intimidation factor, that a large majority of unchurched people will come to church if they are invited. And so they had to take a look at some things, but they wanted to deal with the fact of intimidation. Sometimes there's an intimidating factor to church that leaves people feeling like they can't come. And so we said, okay, how do we make our church less intimidating? So here's some of the ideas that we came up with. First one, the outside visual of the church, make the church more welcoming. Community participation, how can we get out of the community more so people get to know us, know that we're friendly people, we're not going to hurt anybody. We had less structured services and dealing with the order of worship. Are there too many things in the worship service that prohibits people from being comfortable when they're new? How we interact with visitors. We have things in the service that we need to take a look at, possibly the peace of Christ, the culture of welcoming in our church. Communion was one of the conversations that came up. As we put here, teaching and understanding and style. There was would communion by intinction be better than communion passing the trays? Would it be more comfortable? That kind of thing. So we talked about those. One of the things that we understood as we went through this process is that no idea was a bad idea right now. We were just bringing things up, and we're keeping our comments to ourselves. So if you disagreed with something, then you didn't bring it up. Group responses, standing, facing. We talked about the fact that to make it less intimidating, we need to teach about that. So how do we do things group-wise in the worship service? Creating a culture of acceptance. Invitations to church, that was a big one, and we'll see that one in a little bit. Welcoming from the parking lot in. I thought that was an interesting comment, that from the moment that someone pulls into our parking lot, they need to feel welcomed. Less pomp and circumstance was one of the things that they said that possibly could be making the service more intimidating. Visitor follow-up, letting people know that we know that they're here and we appreciate them being here. Again, invitations are listed, so invitations to church were up here, and invitations were mentioned again in another group. Significant events, I thought this was interesting. What is happening in the life that would connect them with the church? So how do we create open doors for people who are experiencing significant events? Maybe it's financial, maybe it's a death in the family, maybe it's an addiction, something like that. How do we can make connections with people who are experiencing significant events, since most everybody does have significant events in their life? There was a combination of tradition and new with an education piece. The focus behind that was that many people that are unchurched went to church when they were younger, so maybe there's a connection that we could keep open with what they experienced in the past, make it less intimidating because they'll recognize some things. Intro Bible classes to give opportunities for people who don't know much about the Bible to learn. Outreach to homeless, both homeless meaning homes and homeless meaning they don't have a church. Acceptance as they are. I think that was a pretty big piece today, was this, how do we create an environment where we accept people as they are? Music as an outreach and letting people express themselves through music, different styles of music, creating different music groups, not just a choir, but a band or maybe some other kind of music groups that might make a connection for somebody who wouldn't come in the church for any other reason but to play music. No cliques. Don't keep to ourselves. That was a big one, and it was kind of last, and I was surprised because I thought maybe that would be something near the beginning, but it was one of the last things that was mentioned. And then the third surprise that we had was a huge one, that 96% of unchurched people would come to church if they were invited. And they had a precursor of what an invitation looked like. An invitation wasn't just seeing somebody at the 7-Eleven and saying, hey, you want to come to church tomorrow? Or it was an invitation to meet them, to walk them, give them a tour of the building, and to walk into the building with them. So there was some specific examples of what invitation meant. But 96% of unchurched people said that they would come to church, that they are invited. Using the numbers in this country, there's roughly 160 million unchurched people. That means these are people that attend church 2 or less times a year. And so using that percentage, roughly about 153 million people would attend church if they were just invited in a way that took some effort, not just, hey, why don't you come to my church someday, but meeting them and giving them a tour, walking into the building with them. And so we talked about the fact that our number one evangelistic outreach goal is personal invitation. And we're going to be developing systems to not only help people to invite, but to create an environment where people invite, and to create an environment where people learn how to meet people to invite, especially unchurched people. So there was a lot of work that was going to be done in there. And I jokingly said that we just saved a lot of committee work, because we just did a whole bunch right there as far as when we need to expand our services, when we expand them, what is our evangelistic focus going to be. And we got a lot of work here in the list of less intimidating. How do we become less intimidating? And so it was a good first day. And I hope that you'll be able to join us next week for the next 4. We're going to go over 4 surprises next Sunday, and then we've got 3 surprises the Sunday after that. And we're going to be taking more notes and having more discussion, and we'd love you to be a part of it. So until then, I hope this week has a great you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.